and the guy that was standing in the other bunker, a round hit right close to his door, and a piece of shrapnel got him in the throat, and he was dead before he hit the ground.
Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Tracer Burnout. I'm Dan.
And I'm Roger.
And Roger, I don't know if you remember, but a couple years ago, when we first got started, we did at least one. We may have done it more than once. But in our early episodes, we asked to be referred to a Korean War veteran.
Yes.
Or World War II, but particularly I think we shouted out Korean War veterans to try and get one of their stories, if not multiple, on the books and preserved. And today, we have that opportunity.
We do indeed. The guest was referred to us by an old family friend of the Vogels, so thank you, Twyla.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Bobby Lambert.
Yeah. Now, Korea is often referred to as the Forgotten War.
Yes.
And some in the audience may only be aware of it because I just mentioned it.
The Forgotten War. That name doesn't ring a bell.
So, as the Korea expert.
Oh, expert.
Yes. Why don't you give us a brief overview? The Korean War in 60 seconds. With
Okay,
Roger
we'll keep this short just to kind of set the stage. So, World War II ends. The Chinese Civil War continues. The communists and Mao eventually, going into the late 1940s, reign supreme. So the spread of communism throughout Asia continues and starts to take root in what we now call North Korea. So the North Koreans and South Koreans, those aren't official entities at this point, but are clashing against each other. And the United States and the newly budded United Nations intervene. So this is about 1950 to about 1953, 54. So early on in the war, the small American force and the South Korean forces are pushed from the Seoul area by the North Korean forces. It is a phased retreat or withdrawal all the way down to the southern eastern part of the peninsula to a place called Pusan. So the Pusan perimeter is a place where the American forces and what's left of the South Korean forces have created a defensive perimeter, and they kind of hold there until MacArthur does one of the most audacious and best executed military operations in human history, Operation Chromite, which is where we take a naval force and a ground force and go around the southern edge of the peninsula back up the western coast and land basically in the enemy's rear in the Seoul area. Seoul is not the massive city that it is now, but it was a city back then. And land in the rear by an amazing use of tides, and they're able to land further inland than the enemy was ever expecting because of MacArthur and his brilliance. And so the North Korean forces at this point are basically done. It's a rout of the North Korean forces, and the South Koreans and the Americans are happy, and they start pushing north. And they start pushing north, and they go too far north, and they cross the Yalu River, which is the boundary line rather between communist China and the Korean Peninsula. And the moment we cross the Yalu River, which MacArthur was told not to do, the Chinese get involved, and this is when the war turns into a quagmire of back and forth between the United Nations and the American forces versus the communist Chinese. And Mr. Lambert, as you'll hear in the subsequent episode here, talks a lot about that. The political nature of the war is very frustrating for a lot of these veterans that are fighting as well, because a hill is at great expense is taken and held, and then the next day the politicians at the table who are negotiating with the North Koreans and the Chinese give the hill back. And so it's just back and forth. And these, at great expense, a lot of soldiers and Marines are killed during this process, and just to have their gains be given away the next day. And so to conclude, the Korean War, as we've come to call it, was never officially ended. It is still to this day in a ceasefire. It's never been officially concluded. And so that kind of brings us to our guest today.
Ladies and gentlemen, Army veteran Bob Lambert.
Good morning, Bobby. Welcome to Trace of Burnout.
Good to be here.
You are our first Korean War veteran, and since we started this show over 2 years ago, we've been saying we wanted to have a Korean War veteran on here.
I reckon a lot of them has passed.
Unfortunately, that is true. So we can't thank you enough for meeting with us today.
I'll have to say the Lord's been good to me
Amen to that.
many times.
Oh, amen to that. So go ahead, Dan.
So, does your family have a history of service?
Does my family have a history of what?
Of service?
Service? I had two brothers two brothers that's in service. One of them was both of them were in the Navy. My older brother was in the Second World War. My next to the oldest was in that Navy. He served in the medical corps with the Marines. He was in during the Vietnam era, but he did not go to the Vietnam. He was in the medical corps, and he was set up dispensaries and such in Rome and other places.
In Rome?
Right.
There are worse places to be than Rome.
War is hell.
Yeah. I had more sea duty than he did, by the way.
So what led you to join?
Well, my next oldest brother, Billy, was his name, was in the Navy. I looked up to him. He was in medical corps, and I was going to follow in his footsteps. So I went around to the Navy to see if I could join it. I was a little behind in high school, and I was going to drop out of high school and go into service. And my mother had finally agreed to sign for me if I was going to drop out. And when I took the test, their standards were a little bit higher than the Army, and they said, "We can't have you." So, okay, I'll go to the Army. So I went around the corner, and their standards were right, and they took me. Glad to take me because Korea was heating up at that time.
What year was this?
4950.
1953.
1953. When you enlisted?
Yeah, well, I enlisted. Let's see. I'm sorry, I said 53. It was 1950.
Yeah.
When I went in, and I was 17, I believe, 16 or 17. Because my mother had signed. It was 17. 18 was the break-off point, I think. But anyway, I went to through Fort Jackson for processing, and then immediately went to Camp Point, Louisiana, for basic training. And when I got to basic training, the day that I got there, in fact, got mail, and lo and behold, the Navy had sent me a letter saying, "We'll take you." I said, "It's too late now."
Yeah.
But anyway, we did a basic training at Camp Pope amongst the Armadillos and the Razorback Hogs, and I was in a headquarters unit, which serviced the line companies that we were in, and I was eventually doing about 3 jobs during the course of being in that particular platoon. I would do demolition. I would carry ammo if needed, and we would do actual construction of bridges in the forest areas. We did all of that training there, and of course we got our rifle, grenade, and weapons training there. And we were there about, I'm going to say about 9 months, 9 to 10 months.
When you enlisted, what was your MOS?
My MOS, I don't remember what my MOS was. I know I was in the headquarters company, and I did 3 jobs. I could do demolition. I could do whatever they called on me to do in that unit, and there was basically 3 things. We had the platoon had a duty of carrying ammo up to the front, and I would blow out trenches at the front for rocks and such, whatever they called me on to do. I would check for traps and stuff on whatever they called me on to check, for booby traps and such. Back in that day, we didn't have, they hadn't perfected the explosives the way they did when in Afghanistan and such, because they would set them up different, heavier loads of.
Yeah.
It was just primary trip wires and box mines, and such as that. But I did that online training in Korea, actually.
Yeah.
When I got over there, I learned a lot of those things. But we left Camp Polk and went to Japan, where we had actual cold water training, basically.
Yeah.
Because they sent us to the northernmost island of Hokkaido during the wintertime. We stayed over there training for, I guess, about 3 to 4 months, somewhere in that range. And in November of '53, I think it was, they sent us to Korea. We went by ship to I'm trying to think of the port, but I can't think of the port. But anyway, we offloaded from the ship onto a landing craft and went offloaded onto the peninsula. And we had full field equipment on, and it was cold.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was just bone-bearing cold. They put us on a train that was unheated, wooden seats. We had to sit there with our full field equipment on. I guess for about 20 miles or more. We're up to a point where we were right close to the front, and at that point they offloaded us from the train to 2.5-ton trucks.
Yeah.
And we sat on those trucks for another 10 to 15 miles, and this was at night. And when we got off the trucks, it was getting daybreak. When we got off the trucks, I jumped off the trucks and I didn't feel hitting the ground. It was that cold.
Oh yeah.
When you went to Japan for your cold weather training, and then you said how cold it was in Korea once you got there. A lot has been made over the years about the lack of equipment
Oh yeah,
that
definitely.
the troops had. Looking back on it now, what sort of equipment do you think that you would have liked to have had going in?
Well, first of all, we had Second World War equipment. For cold weather, we had overcoats. When I say overcoats, wool overcoats. Nothing like we had sometime after we got over to Korea. They learned that frostbite, our boots, we had to double up socks in regular boots. Our boots would get wet, socks would get wet, and our feet would start freezing.
Oh.
And frostbite was another thing we had to guard against, and we just had to trying to keep our feet as dry as we could, as best as we could. And then they come along with thermal boots.
Mm-hmm.
Put thermal boots. When I was over in Japan, nothing was thought about that. The Army had not really put a lot of thought and preparation into the equipment that was needed for troops under those bad weather conditions. Japan was not anywhere close to the weather that was in Korea.
Yeah.
I'd say it was cold in Japan, but the cold was different. It was a dry cold, harsh, dry cold with snow, with the snow elements just under where it would create water. We would sweat basically but the cold would go through.
Yeah.
And then the thermal boots kept the two apart. But it's hard to describe. But I guess in Japan when we were in cold weather training, we were on the inside when we were not in the field.
Yeah.
Then they put us in after we got there and got the base established at an old airfield. This was in Japan. We had barracks, old Japanese barracks. So we were inside, heat, so forth.
You would go out and you would do your training.
Yeah,
you
do
get
a
to do your
training.
training. You'd be cold.
Yeah.
But after the training was over, then you could go inside and dry your clothes and warm up,
which is a luxury.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then in a second phase, we built a tent city, Shimamatsu. And we were out in the field in it for weeks. We didn't have the luxury of that inside. We trained in that element, and it was about half and half, I'd say. In that element, we had some element of heat in tents and a little bit of enclosure, but not as much. In Korea, when we got there, we had to build our hooches or bunkers, and we'd have a pot-bellied stove. No, just a pot-belly metal fireplace, you might call it. And we burn fuel in it to try to keep warm. We'd build our bunks, two inside, one overhead and one back lower, and we'd put our sleeping bag, which had feathers in it, and the covering was to some degree waterproof, but not 100%.
The military doesn't make anything waterproof. It is just water resistant.
Yeah, water resistant.
That's fair.
Right.
Yeah.
But that was, we could keep warm in there, but when we were online, I mean, I was in headquarters company. We were one hill behind the main line of resistance. That's where
Where in Korea were you at this point?
We were near a town called Wejeonbu.
Yep. That's where I was.
Wejeonbu was 10 miles from the actual front line. That's where one line, no man's land, and the Chinese line. When we first got there, it was mainly Korean, but the Koreans were after some fighting. The Koreans had to be reinforced. The Chinese entered the war actually, and that's when things really, when the Chinese started pushing the Americans back. They stopped at what a hill called Pork Chop Hill.
Yeah.
There was a line from Pork Chop Hill going across the peninsula, and the 45th Infantry was right in the midst, or about the middle, between the east and the west, you might say. And they were in the center of it was that line. And now in 1953 is when the Chinese had pushed the Americans to the hill. It was Hill 255. That was the height of the hill. And it was shaped like a pork chop. That's where the name Pork Chop Hill came from. And from that point, east and west, across the peninsula, the 45th was in heavy fighting all along that way. Oops, excuse me.
Yep.
It's okay.
The fighting for Pork Chop Hill started about it was in July, I think, of 53. And it lasted until I was trying to think. It lasted for about a couple of months, I believe, 2 or 3 months. It started in July of 53, and it was about 3 to 4 months of fighting for that one hill.
Yeah.
And the reason for that hill, it was high enough that the Chinese could observe what we were doing, and likewise we could observe what they were doing.
Yeah.
And my unit, or my headquarters company, was right behind about we were about we were one hill behind where Point Top Hill was. That's how close we were, about 2 miles.
Yeah.
And they were sending me out in '53 before the fighting really got heavy at Fort Top Hill. They said to check a tank for booby traps, see if the area was clear.
To check a tank?
Check, a tank that was out there, had been out there.
It was immobilized?
It's mobilized.
Yeah.
And they said they wanted me to go out there and check it. They were talking about retrieving it. Well, I got out there and I didn't see anything. I couldn't see anything. The first time I went out there, everything seemed to be okay. I got back, no problem. Well, they wanted me to go out there one more time about a week later, and I went out again the second time. I still didn't see anything, and I started back, and I got about, I guess about 20 yards from the tank. I was down in a sort of a gully, a washed away gully, walking back to the hill where a squad was that went out with me. And at that point, a sniper fired at me, and a round hit right behind my heel. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know where to run or drop. I couldn't see where the round came from. I didn't even hear the round as he fired it. But I know it was a sniper because the round hit so close to my heel. So I said, well, if I drop, and all this just occurred in seconds.
Right.
If I drop, he'll think he got me. So I dropped, and I laid there for a minute, and then I heard a recoilless rifle go off in the distance. And I knew that was the incoming round. And it hit pretty close, so I decided then I was going to get up and run up to the, there was a rice paddy ditch that was up around the edge of the hill where the squad was at. They were in that ditch. So I run up to it and went around the hill where they couldn't.
Yep.
They wouldn't have a clear shot at me if they tried. So we got on back okay. That was the second time I'd been shot at. First time I'd been shot at was right after I got over there. Me and the sergeant were out on a rice paddy, out in no man's land. I didn't even know what no man's land was hardly.
Right.
I just got over there. And
It wasn't in the PowerPoint brief.
No.
So I had, he and I were standing in the road beside a rice paddy, and we had some people that were setting up some mortars over about 100 yards from us. And I could hear a zzz. I said, what's that? And I thought, I've heard that before. Hell, I know what that was. I was pulling targets when I heard that sound. So I knew what it was, and I dropped. I said, Sergeant, somebody's shooting at us, son. And he had a BAR, and I never had fired a BAR, but I had a carbine.
Yeah, Browning.
He said, let me see your carbine. I don't know what he wanted, but we were still in a ditch. And he took my carbine and gave me his BLR. I said, "Sort I don't know how to fire this damn thing." He said, "Oh, you got to learn." He said,
Today's
"Just
the
like
day."
firing another rifle." He showed me. I said, "Okay." So he took my carbine and went on down. I didn't receive any more rounds or anything. I couldn't hear any sounds if it did. But we got on back out without any incidents, but that scared the shit. It scared me pretty good.
How long?
Not knowing where it come from.
How long had you been in country when you, or in Korea itself, when you got shot at the first time?
The first one.
That was about a week.
That sounds about right.
Welcome to Korea.
Right, yeah. And another thing, we had a lot of what they call line crossers out there. They were dressed like the Koreans, the padded uniforms, and they were really dressed for cold weather. They knew what cold weather was because they lived there. Mm-hmm. But anyway, as we had always had to go to the front, you'd go out. There's a mountain here, and a mountain to the right, and a mountain to the left, and they come down to form a little valley, just a narrow valley, and you had to go through that to go out in front of the line. You were still in no man's land doing that, but as you one we were going out on patrol, and as we went through that little valley and to the right, here's three Koreans or Chinese. We couldn't tell which.
Yeah.
Because they were dressed the same, dressed in these padded uniforms with bark guns.
Yeah.
Hell, we didn't know what they were, line crossers. We didn't know. I didn't speak no Korean, nobody in the squad.
Or Chinese. Yeah.
We didn't know where to drop them or
Yeah.
or just, they didn't show any signs of being aggressive to us.
Yeah.
So we didn't show any signs to being aggressive to them.
Right.
So they didn't. We just walked on past them and went out where we were at. So they apparently line crossers. But there again, that's sort of a Mexican standoff, you might say.
Yeah, yeah.
And it could have been, and it probably was. But they didn't want to get shot at, and we didn't want to get shot at.
That sounds about right.
That's basically what happened. The only other, I was on Hill 200, blowing out some trenches. I'd been over there a fair distance. I'd been over there a month or two. And Hill 200 was about, it's right almost at the base of Hill 255. Hill 255 was over here. There was a little valley which separates two, and then Hill 200, which was a lower hill. Hill 255 come around like a pork chop. The Hill 200 met it with a valley, with an opening, and that pork chop part come right almost base to base. Mm-hmm. And I was up blowing up some rock for trenches one day, and this was just before the fighting started for pork chop, and the Chinese started throwing mortar in on us. And I was standing in a bunker at the doorway, and when the first mortar round hit, I heard it incoming. I got in behind, out of the door to the wall of the bunker, but beside the door. And there's another bunker beside that one, where one of the guys up there digging the trenches, he was in a line company. He was standing beside the door, and just in the door. One mortar round hit right outside my door, and I had one of the guys had a M1 rifle and his field jacket on a bush, and it hit there, and I mean, it just tore everything up.
Yep.
Shrapnel. And the guy that was standing in the other bunker, a round hit right close to his door, and a piece of shrapnel got him in the throat, and he was dead before he hit the ground.
Yeah.
Just that quick.
Yeah.
And then during the battle, when this battle was going on, a day or two later, they had sent me up on an observation point with some officers that were overseeing the battle that was going on Pork Chop Hill, and they had put a radio. I was a radio man that day, just to listen to the conversation with our people. And I heard all that stuff that was going on in the fighting, our people screaming and yelling, the Chinese doing the same. I could hear the conversations between the both. I could hear all the agony that was going on, and that was sort of hard. But then when the battle was over, it went on all day, and we were far enough. We weren't physically involved in the battle, but we could see. The officers could see and hear what was going on. And after the battle was over, there was a road that went from the backside of Pork Chop Hill around. They had to come that way behind us to get out and back to our line. When they got to a point that I could see the truck, that truck was literally loaded with corpses of our people, just stacked on one another, just bouncing. You could tell they were all dead.
Yeah. Yeah.
When you guys were on the front lines there, was there a rotation in place for you guys to spend a few days or a few weeks on the front And then you'd be
Well,
replaced for another unit
yeah.
by another unit for a little while.
Well, yeah, we had a rotation to Japan for 1 week. That was one point about midway through our fighting there.
Do you remember when that was?
We also had, after so many days at the front line, they would send us back to a little town called Weijambu, which was 10 miles from the front. And we would have maybe a couple of 3 days back there just to, well, they gave us rations of beer, liquor, candy, whatever we wanted, and the usual.
Some time to get the uniforms cleaned and dried.
Yeah, that's about it. We just had to get away from the fighting for a few days. That's basically what it was.
Yeah.
When you rotated back to the front lines, were you going back to the same position that you had just left?
Oh yeah, we had the same position. That was all along that line. Even though our unit of 45th was at that point, the other units of the 45th were scattered out along the front line all the way across, wherever the Chinese were trying to push us.
Yeah.
They wanted Hill 255 really badly, because a lot of their people got killed in that process, because they were using the tactics of
The wave.
the wave,
Yeah.
wave after wave. They didn't care how many people they got killed.
That was the
And a
Chinese
lot of
way
them got
of
killed.
the Chinese way of war goes all
And
the way back to
they'd overrun the lines.
Yeah.
well
They
that
got right in the trenches with
yeah
we were in headquarters. We were basically not in that line of fire. If they'd broke through, they would have gotten us, because we were the next hill behind the line companies. But I was always involved in firing when I'd go to the front. We'd get artillery fire first, because we had to go down the road and through that pass. Artillery and then mortar. And then if I went out in front of the hill for any reason, I'd usually get sniper fire.
When you went out, just in the same way that you went out to go check that tank for booby traps and stuff, when you went out, were you going out by yourself?
Yeah, we had a squad that went so far, they stopped in a position where if I got into trouble, they could come try to relieve me, or at least fire from that position to try to protect me.
Yeah.
But I was out there by myself,
How
going and coming.
How regularly were you doing that?
I did it only twice. The third time they was going to send me out, and there's some new guys there. And I said, I think you've got some other people that can do the same thing I'm doing. I think they ought to go out one time. And a friend of mine did go out. When I said, I've done it twice, let someone else do it this time. And when he went out, they got after him with a machine gun. So they didn't tell them what would have happened to me.
yeah.
Yes, it was a weird thing. They were close enough to use a machine gun, but yet you couldn't see where the fire was coming from. They were in a position where they were dug in, and they had some cover so they couldn't be seen.
Yeah.
So every time you go out there, you could expect anything. And here I was, 18 years old? Still wet behind the ears.
There's a
I grew up fast.
there's a thin line between brave and stupid.
And I was on the stupid side.
Well, if you
I
can look
played
at
with explosives.
Yeah.
I enjoyed the work with explosives.
Yeah.
But
Well, we've talked about it before on the show, and anybody that says they don't like blowing stuff up has never blown anything up,
it's true.
because blowing stuff up is fun.
It's pretty cool.
yeah, what it was about me, I just I like to see. I got a big boulder here, and I need to get it out of place. Where do I put my charges to blow it out, to get it out with the least amount of damage to something else, to me or somebody around me? Because sometimes I'm up there blowing rock out with other people around. You yell fire in a hole, some of them don't pay too much attention to it.
Occupational hazard.
But yeah, just and especially when you're around explosions all the time, you get somewhat immune to it.
Yeah.
But you learn to listen to the sounds as to what kind of explosions they are. And, it's just, I don't know, just. But anyway, that's the reason I liked the job of what I was doing.
When you enlisted in 1950, how long did you enlist for?
I enlisted for 3 years.
For 3 years. Was that pretty common?
Yeah, the 3 years hitch was before you had to re-enlist.
And you were in, I mean, aside from your basic training, and then aside from your basic training and then a very short cold weather training stint in Japan, you were in Korea
Right.
for the rest of that time.
I was in Korea for a year, and then came back to Fort Belvoir. After my time was up in Korea, I came to back to Fort Belvoir, Virginia. And it's sort of funny. I'd been on a line company, infantry, and when I come back to Fort Belvoir, they wanted me to be an MP, guard and prisoner. That wasn't my MOS, I guarantee you. They didn't know where to put me, so they finally put me with an engineering company, which was somewhat in my line because of using explosives and such. But they put me with incoming people for engineering school. I was cadre. I had to supervise them while they were there. I had made staff sergeant at that point in time. The captain there made me staff sergeant. I was corporal when I came in, but immediately thereafter he gave me my rank. And then these people coming through this heavy equipment school and such, I had to see that they were up on their way and that type of thing. And most of them were ranked over me, most of them master sergeants. I mean, they were heavy equipment people. But that was good duty, but that MP duty was something that I didn't
How long?
particularly like.
How long were you doing the MP duty?
Oh, it was only about 2 or 3 weeks
Yeah.
till they found a slot for me.
Okay, so it was just a temporary assignment
just
while they looked for
temporary assignment.
somewhere else for you to go.
Right.
Okay.
It's, I stayed there until I got out. I was trying to think. It might have been 5 or 6 months.
Yeah.
I can't remember the actual time period. Time sort of slips by.
Were you? Had you ever thought about reenlisting, or were you?
I thought about it one time. In fact, the captain that I worked with there called me in the office when that time came up. He said, Lambert, he said, I'd like you to re-enlist. He said, if you will re-enlist, I'll send you to Shape headquarters in Paris, France. Wanted a good duty. And I thought about that thing. He said, and also, he knew I had a friend there that was a young man. He said, I'll send your buddy with you. I said, let me think about that. I thought about it. And I was thinking about what might happen. I knew Vietnam was getting on the hot side, and I said, got to think that I don't really want to do this. I want to go to school. My purpose for going in the Army was to get out and go to college, because that was one of the things that they were doing for us. So I went back into it and I said, yeah, and I said, I appreciate what you offered me, but I just can't do it. I got to get out and go to school.
Paris wasn't tempting enough, huh?
He got a little teed off at me about it. He was a little bit, he didn't like it, because it would have been a feather in his cap. He'd got more re-enlistments is what it was.
Right.
Yeah.
But anyway, he got mad with me. But nevertheless, I got out, and I did go to school. I got my GED while I was in the Army, and finished it. Had no problem getting into college when I got out.
Where'd you go to school?
Brevard. It's a 2-year college, and it's 3-year. I mean, yeah, it's 4-year college now. It's a good little school up in the mountains. I really enjoyed it, and then I transferred to Campbell after the first year.
It was Campbell College back then.
Yeah, that was comparing two schools, I should have stayed at
Brevard, yeah. It's beautiful. It's beautiful country up there.
Yeah.
I have a question about while you were in Korea. So after World War II ends, the United Nations is created. So Korea, the Korean conflict, we call it the Korean War, but it was...
I can't understand.
What other allied services did you fight alongside while you were in Korea?
But, well, the only one that I knew of, well, there's the Marines were to our, I believe, our left side.
Mm-hmm.
There was a
Republic of Korea, so the South Koreans.
South Korean to our right side.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know where there was some English units there, but I can't remember where they were at.
Okay.
They were somewhere along that line.
Sure.
And the biggest problem we run across was is defining the line crosses between the rock and what the line crosses were.
Yeah.
None of them ever got back to our line because we had our front lines were pretty. We had one. Charlie Company was one of our, basically to our front.
Yeah.
And we had a aid station in our unit, and Charlie Company got hit one night with Chinese.
Yeah.
And they had some, Chinese had a bunch of casualties that they had brought back. And one of them was dressed like a captain, like a officer. Excuse me. By the way he was dressed, I could tell he was an officer. But he was dead. When I looked at him, he'd been shot about 3 times. And when I looked at him, the thing that impressed me about him, he was clean shaven, neat. And one of the guys had taken his billfold out.
Yeah.
He had a billfold and opened it up. And he had a picture in it of his family. He had 2 daughters and a wife. That part of it hit me sort of hard.
Yeah.
Even though he was an enemy to me, he's still a human.
Right.
He had a family. And it,
Just caught up in the gears of war, just like the rest of us.
yeah, it's something you don't, just because you're fighting him, doesn't mean he's not human.
Right. Of course.
I didn't kill him, but his family's going to miss him.
Those 2 little girls aren't going to have a dad. Yeah. Yeah.
Things like that stay with you.
Yes, they do.
It's something that armies or militaries have done forever, is to dehumanize the enemy. Whether it's the propaganda campaigns. I mean, look back at some of the posters or propaganda posters for World War I or World War II.
Yeah.
I mean, it was all about the Huns are killing the babies and things like that. And I mean, even going back to
the Japs.
Roman and Persian wars. And the Greek wars. I mean, it was all about
any war.
At any war, it's all about dehumanizing the enemy so that you don't get
to assuage your own guilt.
That's part of it, but then it's also to not allow you to connect on a human level with them by seeing them as fathers, brothers, sons.
Yeah.
Well, I think when you're fighting, when you're in the trenches fighting them, it's your life or theirs.
Yeah.
When they're shooting at you, it's the same thing. But when you get down to after it's over, everything's calmed down, you're back to your normal way of thinking, you see it, what the result of it is. And that makes a difference. That's the difference line right there, I think. And I guess how you feel religiously has a lot to do with it. Some people could kick them and not be disturbed by it. But some people when they think of God, they don't feel that way.
Yeah.
So there's so much that enters into it. You know, the Bible says you shall not kill, but yet it happens. It happened in biblical times.
Yeah.
It's always going to happen. So I don't know. It's not. That's a tough question.
Man's inhumanity to his fellow man.
Right? You're right.
Let's take a break real quick.
Okay.
And then we'll come back. So, you got out, you went to school at Brevard and then at Campbell. Were there a lot of other veterans like yourself that were in school with you?
Yeah. In Brevard, we had a veterans group, and there were, in a small school like that, we had, I think, about 10 or 12 that were in the time that I was there, a year. In fact, one of them was, he was a veteran that came from Federal that I knew. And when I went to Campbell, I don't know of any group that we had in Campbell. We probably had one, and I just wasn't aware of it because I was living off base as opposed to, off
Campus.
at home,
Yeah.
commuting, as opposed to Brevard, where I was there in the
Dorms.
dormitory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
When you got out, what are some of the, because you went in at 17, 18 years old.
Yeah.
And you spent a good portion of your time at a very young age there in brutal conditions.
yeah.
What are some of the challenges you faced? I mean, because now you're 21, maybe 22, when you got out. What are some of the challenges that you faced personally when you got out of the service?
Well, I think getting a good job. When I first got out, I looked around. I didn't know what to do. Had no skills at that point in time. So I started working on floor furnaces under houses. Dirty job. Crawling under houses that were clean, some of them were dirty, some of them, all kind of conditions. But anyway, I got tired of that.
Understandably.
The guy said, I'm going to putting in insulation in houses. I never put in insulation in houses. I quickly learned that I didn't want to do it after the first job. You come in after blowing that stuff in attics and such. You go to take a shower, and it feels like needles sticking
It's the
all
fiberglass,
in you
yeah.
for 2 or 3 days.
Yeah.
So I told him after about a week or two of it, I said, I'm sorry, but I can't do this anymore. I was able to get a job with let's see, I did work with floor furnaces, and then I went to school. I think I can't remember. That was the hardest one. After I got out of school, I went to school, and the first job I got was being a draftsman for public works. I enjoyed that. It was a little bit challenging to me. Didn't pay too much, so after working with them, I had a chance to go with Hercules Steel Company doing steel takeoff on doing detailed drawings. That was a good thing. They paid me about twice what Public Works was paying me. I was working 2 jobs at that time, working at that job and then going to fast food place on the boulevard, doing short order cooking at night. Had by that time gotten married to my first wife, and we were doing good. And she come down with cancer, died.
I'm sorry.
And then while I was working with Hercules Steel Company, I'd been trying to get on as an insurance adjuster. And a gentleman by the name of his name slipped my mind. Hired me. He was with Tim Mayfield and Company. He hired me after I had bugged him so much. Trained me, and I worked with that company 5 years, adjusting insurance losses as an independent. Then I had a chance to go to work with a regular insurance company direct, with them furnishing a car and expenses and a salary and possible retirement. And I went to work with them, making a lot more money.
You were still a very young man when Vietnam started. Because of your prior service, you wouldn't have been drafted. Did you ever think about going back in?
No. When I left the service, and especially after Vietnam, with the kind of war that was going on there, I'm glad I got out when I got out, because that type war is hard to win and easy to get killed in. If it had been a war like the Second World War, I would have been in the war, even though that war would have been hard to kill. But I don't think politics were too much involved in the wars that we have now.
Yeah.
Right now we're in a situation that America could be in a hell of a lot of trouble because of what's taking place right this day. And we're losing a lot of our people that were standing behind us to help us, and we could help them. We lost a lot of allies, and we'll lose more, it looks like. What's going to happen if we have another world war? It's going to be a different war, of course, and I don't think anybody's going to survive it because there's too many nuclear weapons of too much power. And the Bible's predicted it, and it's going to happen. It's no way to... You read the book of Revelation, and you compare the time to that book of the Bible, and I think that you'd be amazed as to how many things have come to pass and will come to pass.
Yeah.
That's life.
Well, all we can do is keep oil in our lamps.
Our everybody's going to have its day. I mean, nobody's going to be here forever. How we go is how we go, and what is after is going to be. I don't know. I don't know where. I guess I say that what the Bible is, and I believe there's a God. I believe it's the God that I believe in, and I believe it's coming to pass. And when I have to go, I hope I have to go in the right way.
Amen to that.
Yeah. He's given me a good amount of time so far. I've enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Even with the bad, I've enjoyed it.
Well, in that vein, 18-year-old you standing on a hilltop in Korea in the midst of the worst of the fighting, would 18-year-old you have ever imagined that you would be sitting here in a nice, ripe old age, sitting at this table talking about this?
No.
Yeah.
Your generation and those that came after you didn't really talk about their time in service. A lot of the World War II veterans, and World War I veterans, of course, they did their time in service. They came home and they didn't talk about their service. Korean War veterans, the same thing. And then Vietnam veterans didn't want to talk about their service because it exposed them to a lot of other things. But your generation and that immediately before you and after you really did set the groundwork for today's veterans to be able to talk about their experiences and the benefits that we have, both medical, job seeking opportunities,
GI Bill.
Bill. You guys set all the groundwork for that, and we can't thank you enough.
Yeah, you take my brother, for instance, the one that killed himself. And he had, back in his day, there was nothing such as PTSD. But that was his problem. That was his core problem. His alcohol drinking came because of PTSD.
Yeah.
There's no question about it in my mind. Because I didn't know I had it until July of this year, actually. Last year. Well, it's been July of this year. It came just like that, a snap. I started having dreams. I didn't realize what it was until I went to mental health. I told them what was going on. Having dreams, waking up at night, dreaming about things that happened back then. Some nights I couldn't go back to sleep because I was afraid I'd have a dream about
Yeah.
things that hurt me.
Yeah.
It,
If you don't mind my asking, how long had you been having these dreams before you went to go and get help?
I'd say about 6 months. It was delayed so many years. I can't understand it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can't. When I first went to mental health there at the hospital to talk to the lady there, she told me that this was what they called a delayed response.
Mm-hmm.
That the brain, it's there, she said, but something in the brain, the stimulus in the brains, brought it up now for some reason. And they don't know why or how, but it's the way it works.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's less now than what it was, but it's still there. I mean, even the thoughts, when it's forefront in my mind, like today, talking about it, it comes up, and everything is clear as to what happened. And I think maybe talking about it has helped.
Yeah.
But some things you never forget.
Amen to that.
Your mind's like a computer.
Yeah.
Stuck back there in the corner somewhere, and when the right key's touched, it comes to the forefront.
If you could go back to 17-year-old you, convincing your mom to let you drop out of school, and then following your brother's footsteps into service, if you could go back, would you do it all again?
If I knew what I know right now, I would not have dropped out of school. I would have completed my school and tried to go to college. If today, I would have been able to go back to college if things were as they were today, where they have schools that you can easily get into. They have schools that are not as expensive like your state-run schools. You can get half your education there for little or nothing. And online, you can be self-taught with what is available. If I had those things, I would never have dropped, and knew what I know today, I would never have dropped out of school. I would have completed my education. I would have taken mathematics. I would have become an engineer as I wanted to. That's what if.
Yeah.
But it's not what if, it is what is now.
Yeah.
I'm satisfied with my life as the Lord allowed me to take it. I don't regret it.
A life lived in full.
Right. In the way the Lord gave it to me.
Well, thank you so much for being here, sir.
God bless you, sir.
We really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, Raj,
Daniel.
the Forgotten War. Forgotten no longer.
Forgotten no longer.
Certainly not forgotten by those that we're still fortunate to have among us
Yeah.
who lived it. What'd you think?
Just an amazing story. My late grandfather was a Korean War veteran. He was in the 17th Infantry Regiment, and he passed when my mother was in college, so I never got to meet him. But it's it's part of our family as well. So, go ahead.
Do you think that your folks would sign off for you at 17 to drop out of school and join the Army?
I mean, it's one of those things. It was a different time, you know?
Yeah.
It was a different time.
I dare say that my folks probably would. They probably would.
Mine probably would have too. Yeah, I mean, so back to my initial point. Yeah, I mean, I'm direct line, third generation Army. Although, I mean, obviously I have some, going back far enough, there's definitely more than that. But in my family, that's what you did. You joined the Army.
Well, I mean, and this is certainly a repeating factor here on the show. He went to join the Navy first.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
They turned up their nose at him.
He eventually got his letter.
With their silly test.
While he was at basic training.
Man. Wow. He said that he couldn't remember his MOS, and that got me thinking. I don't remember when the military started the MOS system.
Yeah.
You obviously, if you were a doctor, you came in to the Army as a doctor,
medical service, whatever.
You know,
yeah.
But so many jobs. I mean, you just joined the Army, and then the Army sent you to where they needed you.
Yeah.
A good example of that is the MPs. He talked about having MP duty for a couple of weeks. The MPs did not become a permanent service or branch of service, I think, until during the Vietnam War or just after the Vietnam War. It was an assignment duty. You were just, hey, we're occupying this area for now, so we need some MPs. You're on MP duty.
Here's a shiny helmet and a billy club.
Pretty much, you had your armbands and your helmet, and then you just walked around and did your MP duty.
Yeah.
For a couple of weeks or a couple of months, but I don't remember when the MOS system got started.
Well, he sounded to me like some kind of combat engineer.
Yeah, that's
or
what
sapper.
Yeah.
But again, you're especially in a war like that, you're going to do what we tell you to do.
Yeah, and I think that's part of what it was. Is you joined the Army. You went and you did your basic training, and then when you were assigned a unit, they would put you where they needed you.
Yeah.
So if they needed a truck driver, congratulations, you're now a truck driver. If they needed somebody in supply, congratulations, you're now logistics.
Needs of the
and
Army.
They needed somebody to crawl on their belly in the middle of the night to go out and check tanks for booby traps.
No thank you.
That's what he did. And like he said, when he got back to the States after his short MP stint, then they made him cadre teaching engineers.
Yeah.
So I'm really wondering, I'm going to have to look into that and see when we switch to the MOS system. But, man.
I wanted to ask him, I chose not to, but I wanted to ask him if he could reflect on the movie Pork Chop Hill and speak to its veracity. I myself have not watched that movie in probably 2 decades, so I couldn't even ask any intelligent questions because it's been too long. But
yeah, it came out. Gosh, I'm trying to remember.
It's a black and white movie.
Yeah, it's a black and white movie. I haven't seen it in, probably 20 years.
Yeah.
But I want to say it came out
relatively recently after.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe so. I believe it was late 50s.
Yeah.
Before Kodachrome or whatever the first color film was.
Right.
So yeah, man, that was the Korean War was brutal.
It was horrible. Yeah.
I remember talking to an old Korean War vet many years ago at a VFW, and he talked about they would be in their bunkers, and then one of the guys would, be on guard duty, and he'd go out and he'd man the 30 cal or whatever the machine gun was. And he told me about one time he got up for his shift on guard duty, went out, and his buddy was literally frozen to the machine gun. Frozen dead to the machine gun. He had frozen to death at his post, just feet away from the bunker.
The U.S. military was not ready for the beginning of the Cold War, which is what the Korean War was.
Yeah.
After August of 1945, after on the deck of the Missouri when World War II ended, there was a rightfully so jubilant phase of we got to occupy and do some denazification in Europe, and then obviously the occupation of Japan. But for the most part, we're all smoking on the objective, and it's the new peace dividend.
Yeah.
And we were completely caught off guard.
Yeah.
And you can tell by the logistics, the training, the size of the army, because we do this after every conflict. We downsize probably too quickly.
Yeah.
And then it always turns into crap.
Yeah. And I mean, Eisenhower warned us about the military-industrial complex. Everything after World War II, going from a full wartime economy, immediately snapped. And we did this after World War I as well. Going from a full wartime economy, snapping back immediately into the civilian economy.
Yeah. I
mean, we weren't producing tanks, boots, canteen cups, mess kits, whatever. We weren't producing any of that stuff anymore.
Yeah.
Because there was so much already made that none of it was necessary anymore.
Right.
It all just went into a stockpile. And so when Korea broke out, it wasn't old, less than a decade, but it still was, it takes a while for that industrial system to get going again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's total war versus the alternative. And Korea was not considered a total war, where all of the means of production and everything is geared towards through society is reshaped in order to push the war effort. Korea was not that. And that was really one of the first one of those we'd done, at least in the mid 20th century. The Spanish-American War was kind of its own thing, but we can get into the Moro Wars another day. If anybody knows any Philippine insurrection veterans, they would be over 100 years old, over 125 years old, I think. But really, really great for him to come and sit down with us and share with us. And obviously, he still living with some pain.
Yeah. One thing that I think was great that he mentioned is when he was at Brevard, first going to school after getting out, there was a veterans group there. They formed their own group. So that, he didn't really talk about what they were doing together. Maybe they just got together and studied, or maybe they were taking some of the same classes, but they were still together. And I think that had to be helpful in transitioning out of the military.
I wonder how many of those guys were World War II veterans too, because you're still not too far removed from World War II at this point.
Yeah, there were.
Yeah,
there were quite a few people that did World War II and Korea, just as there were many that did Korea and Vietnam.
Yeah, that's right.
Man, what a rough stretch.
I want to talk about, just briefly here in closing, you asked him if he'd do it all over again. And he was pretty quick out of the gate, saying he would not have dropped out of school to join, and he would have gone off and been an engineer and all. But then at the end, he said something that you and I firmly believe in, and that's, God has a plan for us, and that, it is what it is, right? That's another way of saying, God has a plan for us, and his plan is perfect. And, I fought the good fight, and I don't regret any of that. So I just wanted to hear what you thought about that.
I thought when he said that he was that he wouldn't have dropped out of school and then he would have gone to college. I thought he was about to lead into, and I would have become an officer because the pay is so much better and the responsibility is so much less.
I thought he was going in that direction as well.
But you can only play the hand that you're dealt.
Yeah.
In the grand scheme of things, how much do we actually control?
Virtually none. That's the serenity prayer, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean,
how much do we actually control? And I mean, the good, the bad. I mean, for him, at this age and at this stage in his life, just 9 months ago, he said last July.
Yeah.
For him to have that light switch moment, and to have all that stuff that he talked about, and probably plenty that he didn't, to come screaming back to him.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can only control what you can control.
Amen to that.
Yeah. Bob, thanks
Thank
so
you.
much, man.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate you.
Illuminating.
Yeah. And, for what it's worth, from 2 GWAT veterans and a Kosovo veteran.
Well, Balkans.
Balkans, fair enough. Balkans. Thank you for your service, sir. Okay.
Bring it on. What do you got for me?
Free fire area. I don't want to lead the witness, Your Honor. This week, as we record this week, we lost one of our greatest living film actors, Robert Duvall. Mm. My question to you, unfortunately, he would be removed from this list. Who are your top 1? And if you want to give an honorable mention to a number 2, who are the 2 greatest living film actors?
Oh, that's tough. In no particular order. I'm a huge Bruce Willis fan. Comedy, romance, action. I mean, the guy can do it all.
He's a triple threat.
He's.
I don't know how his dancing is. I don't know.
But as much as of a fan of Bruce Willis as I am, I don't know if he would qualify. And that's so hard, man. That is a tough question. Because Michael Caine is still amazing. He's only gotten better with age.
Yeah.
Clint Eastwood is still amazing, but he doesn't really act anymore. He does more of the directing and production side.
He's still working.
Yeah.
What is he,
95, something like that? Ridiculous.
He is still working. I know this is a tough question. Just
it is.
If I could nail you to the wall.
Man. Daniel Day-Lewis is so good too.
You're not going to call me slithering afterbirth, are you?
Anthony Hopkins is so good. Denzel Washington is amazing at everything except that ridiculous Deja Vu movie.
Never saw it. You haven't said mine yet, but I know he's swimming around in your mind up there right now.
There's just, I love movies too much, so I'm just going to go ahead and say, ridiculous. 2? Just 2?
I tell you what, if you want to do 3, I'm feeling gracious.
That doesn't make it any easier.
Feeling gracious.
All right, I'm going to, in no particular order.
My milkshake.
Michael Caine, Denzel Washington, and you know what? Wild card. The criminally underrated Tim Roth.
Criminally underrated. I think I saw them open for Slayer back in Roth, huh?
Tim Roth is amazing.
Okay. So what was that again?
Michael Caine, Denzel Washington, and Tim Roth, just because.
Okay. I'm surprised you didn't say Adam Sandler or No.
Adam Sandler is good, but he's
Rob
not.
Schneider.
That
Rob Schneider.
the whole Happy Madison crew are very talented at what they do, but I'm not going to put them in the
talented.
in the pantheon. They're very talented at what they do, but they don't
What exactly, pray, is it that they do?
slapstick.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, your list, other than I don't know about the Roth, but okay, your top two. I'm also Denzel is in my top, so I'm going to say Denzel as well. I never saw Deja Vu, but what I will say is everything that I've seen him in, superb. He even pulled off being a black Scottish king.
What?
In the new adaptation of Macbeth,
Oh, okay.
the Scottish play.
They made a movie out of it?
Yeah, and it's good too.
Oh, no, I haven't seen it.
Gary Oldman.
Gary Oldman is fantastic.
Yeah.
But I wasn't gonna put two Brit actors in there. One of them's got to be American.
That's Denzel's all American, baby.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I know, but I said Michael Caine.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm
For
going to
the
go
same
with,
reason I didn't choose Anthony Hopkins.
I'm going to go.
He's
with,
amazing.
Yeah,
Also.
I'm going to go with Denzel and Gary Oldman. Although, yeah, honorable mention to both of those guys.
So many others.
Yeah. And to be honest, Duvall would have been on the list.
Yeah.
And Gene Hackman may have as well. But we lost both of those gentlemen.
Yep.
Yeah.
Man. All of our heroes.
Feet of clay.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us today, everyone. We finally got our Korean War veteran on here, so it was a big day for us.
Yes, and if you guys know of any other Korean War veterans that would like to talk with us, then that would also be fantastic. We do try to prioritize.
Men and women of a certain age.
We want to record their stories while we still can. So
Yes.
yeah.
So we're on all the social media. So give us a like, share, and follow over there. We're on all the podcast channels, of course, as well. So you're our marketing arm of the show.
Yeah.
So please spread the word and give us a good download.
And remember, your service matters.